Hey, so you want to figure out how to hire people on Upwork. So just like any platform, Fiverr, Upwork, Freelancer, one of the biggest trepidations people have is it's not that easy to figure out how to hire somebody. But if you're trying to hire a programmer and you've never programmed in your life, how are you going to find out if somebody's good or not? So that's one of the things that I had a lot of trouble with, that I actually lost a lot of money on, but it's something that I figured out. So essentially there's three main principles. So the first principle is, do they have good reviews? So after you write that job posting, do they have good reviews on their profile? Do have people work with them who are good? Do they have good reviews? Do they have past projects that are kind of in line with what you're looking for? So for instance, if you want to make a web app or a software as a service product, if somebody hasn't made one of those before, even if they apply to your job, they probably aren't a good fit. So first look for people who have good reviews and also have projects kind of in what you're looking for. Number two is whenever you're posting that job, always make sure to have some type of question. Double check that they actually read the requirements. So in that job description, you want to make sure that you say, hey, what is your biggest concern with this project? Or what are some links to projects you've done that are similar to this one? In case they don't have it on their profile or they don't tell you up front, for whatever reason, you have specific links to things on like an app store, hopefully something that's been reviewed. So that's really helpful, especially if you see that somebody's made like 20 Chrome plugins, for instance, and then you see it on the Chrome plugin extension store, and they're all like 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and everybody's complaining about instability of the product. Even if they made that, obviously it's not a good product. People don't like it. So especially if they're complaining about stability. So then essentially looking at, do they answer your question? Do they have just generally good profile views? And then finally, when you talk to them, do they respond well? Are they fluent? Are they interested? Have they said something that kind of demonstrates their dedication? I think often what I'm really excited about when I see someone apply and say, hey, like I love your project. I've done this. I've had this problem. They've actually read they've read the problem statement, read the job description, and they've identified with it. There's something that kind of pushes them over the edge that tells you like this person not only read this thing, is qualified, but they're also extremely interested. Someone who's interested is more likely to kind of think they have their own ideas that they're willing to talk to you about, to bring to the forefront. And that's something that you can really benefit from, because it's one thing to have one person's perspective or maybe your whole team's perspective, but to have also the developer or engineer who's engaged, who's also able to come up with ideas, and essentially it'll make things way easier because they're coming from a whole different perspective than you probably are from the engineering side. I think one good example for me is I was making an app back when the Note 7 was exploding. So essentially there was a serial number on your phone. And if you had a certain serial number, then essentially Samsung was recalling that phone because it might explode. So then the app would essentially look at your serial number and then see if your phone was qualified for that recall because it might explode. So I was working with this developer in Tunisia at the time. And then one of the things that he thought would be really helpful is if we actually went to the Samsung recall site and checked if your serial number is not only in that listing, but if it's in the high risk category. So this is an idea from the developer side that was able to then make the whole product better. And it's something that I didn't even think about. Like you can, at the time, this was like 4 years ago, you can go to Samsung's website, you can scrape the site, find that field, and enter the serial number into it. It's something that I wouldn't have thought about, but because the developer was engaged in this project and kind of making this fun app, they were willing to kind of come up with ideas and feel like they're part of that team. That's also a really important thing to look for. You're not always going to find it in the profiles and the applications that people send you, but if you see it there, I think that's always like a really good person to start with. Anyone who shows exceptional enthusiasm or interest in your particular project. That's like a very high overview of some of the things that I look for.